Welcome back. So glad that you've been spending your day with me. I'm really honored to be able to work with you. Thanks so much. We've just started part 2. We've changed the scene a little bit here at the Minnetonka Center for the Arts. And essentially what this section is about, part 2, is really the exciting concept of superpowers. You know that you have superpowers. I've been mentioning it, you really do. My claim is that there is greatness, there is magnificence in you. And I've shown you how to gain access to the resources. I've shown you that these resources are going to help you break through in several areas of your life. The challenge comes if you're not used to getting what you really want. What then? What are the common behaviors that compete with the goals or intentions that you might have? Maybe you have your goals written out already. Certainly I've asked you to do that here. But what happens when you have these intentions and you're not getting what it is you want? So it's easy to see that you fall back on concepts like, well, I'm just stuck. I don't have time. I've got bad habits that are very strong. I can't overcome them. I'm just different than other people. Nothing I try seems to stick. It doesn't work for me. I'm not making the right decisions. I don't take action. I hesitate. The opportunities pass. I self-sabotage. I get into a loop of negative self-talk. I don't have the discipline to follow through. I don't have the skills that I really need for success. And in all of these cases, if any of these are parts of your experience, what can be done right now. Doesn't matter what your history has been up until now. It just matters where do we take it from here. So the problems today that are a result of how you're trying to solve your problems is essentially a concept called systems thinking. It's the unintended consequence of your current problem-solving strategies are the problems that you have today. Hang on just a moment. This sounds really weird. Wait, Paul, what are you saying? You're saying that my problems, I cause them? Yes, in a very real way. Unintentionally. It's not that you want to. It's that you have a way of problem solving that comes from your history. So when you look to the future, you think, well, I just need to do that only better. So you're looking to your past, you're pulling those problem solving strategies forward, and when those don't work, you keep trying more and more of the same, expecting a different result. That's called your current problems are a result of your current problem-solving strategies. So Einstein said that you can't solve a problem at the level of thinking that created it. So I'm going to invite you to do an exercise, if you would. I'd invite you to take a piece of paper, fold it in half, so you have 2 columns. And on one column, I'm interested in having you write out something that you're committed to accomplishing, something that perhaps you have not yet been able to accomplish, and write out both the thing that it is you would like to accomplish and the behaviors that would go along with it. This is a sheet of paper, for example. Here you fold it in half and you get the 2 sides. So this first column is think of an outcome you have desired to accomplish. Ask yourself, what powerful changes have I chosen to make to improve this area of my life? And it could be success, it could be health, it could be relations, it could be in your growth, personal, professional, spiritual. And then list the concrete behaviors that you have specified to achieve this. What is it that you have said, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to commit to this to achieve this goal? Write down the things that you have committed to performing. Let's take a minute to do that right now. This is called your commitment. Column 1 is your commitment. I'm going to move on to column 2. If you need a little more time to write that out, feel free to take it. In column 2, what you're going to do, and here you have to get brutally honest with yourself, okay? Here on column 2, I want you to write out what you are currently doing or not doing that prevents you from accomplishing your goal. Prevents you from accomplishing your commitment. So for example, let's say I have a goal to get ahead in my field. I want to read a book a week. So I get my book out and I read the first couple of pages and I put it on a stack of books that I'm going to read someday, but I never get to it. But I go to the movies and I turn on Netflix. I do all kinds of other things. Go out, play, I look at the book and I realize, ooh, another week has gone by. I never read the book. So I'm not getting ahead in my field, I'll commit to it again. So the idea is, whatever it is you're doing or not doing that would prevent you from accomplishing the goal, the commitment that you've established. Make sense? Take a moment to write that out. Ask yourself, what is the thing I do or do not do that most gets in the way of my goal? Take stock of the things that you do instead of the behavior that would create positive change for you. Write them down, and here's a clue. Specify actions. The actions, not necessarily the feelings. Like if you say, well, I feel depressed. Well, what do you do when you feel depressed that takes you away from what it is that would help you make progress? Take a minute now, if you would, to do that. All right. You may want to take a little more time to do that, and that's fine. I encourage you to do so. But hopefully you have a bit of an idea about it right now. What we're going to do is a little exercise in which in one of your hands you're going to put that part of you that makes the commitment, that really wants to change your life for the better by taking action. It specifies what it is you want, says, hey, I'm going to do this. That's a part of you that's going to be in one of your hands. And in the other hand, what you're going to do is put that part of you that keeps doing something else instead, seems to have a commitment to something else, and either does something contrary or doesn't do what it is that you've committed to do. So in order to do this exercise, we're going to drop in as we have earlier in the program. I want you to sit back, be comfortable, but this time I want you to have your hands resting on your lap with your palms facing up. All right? Begin by taking a deep breath in, exhale, and close your eyes, and let your shoulders relax. Bring your awareness of yourself to the space your body is occupying. Bring your awareness of yourself to yourself. I just want to also acknowledge and appreciate your commitment right now to taking this session, taking this time in your day to do something that can really shift you in a positive way today for an immediate beneficial effect. Relax the muscles of your forehead. Let those muscles smooth out around your eyes, cheeks, and jaw. Notice the rhythm and flow of the breath in the touch of that breath in your nostrils. Allow that breath to be deep and connected so that the exhale and inhale flow into one another without any interruption, just a continuous flow, so that the exhale and inhale are of a similar duration as well. Now in one of your hands, I'd like you to put your goal. You decide which hand that's going to go in. Place that goal and imagine the part of you that places that goal there. Imagine that part of you that sees that a better life for you is in the accomplishment of something that you're committed to. And think of all the behaviors that would help you move in the direction of that goal. And imagine in your hand, there's something that looks like an object of some kind that has weight and it has density. There's a size and a shape to it, a color to it perhaps. If you hold it, you squeeze it, you can tell, is the surface smooth or rough? Is it angular? Is it round? Is it heavy? Is it light? Maybe there's even a sound, a tone associated with it, or a temperature, warm or cool. And in the opposite hand, I'd like you to have that part of you that seems to be committed to something else, like holding you back, protecting you, as I've referred to it. And this protector part's pulling you away from the accomplishment of what you're headed toward. In a way, we can judge it, but I'd rather that you not call it a saboteur or a part of you that's trying to get in your way. Think of it as a part that's trying to protect, serves you by keeping you safe, not being too exposed, maintaining the status quo, letting things be steady, don't rock the boat, and put this resource in this hand. And I'd like you to imagine this part of you as an object as well, and notice the difference here, the way this feels, the heaviness or lightness, the color or density, the surface texture, smooth or rough, the temperature, hot or cold. Feel it now in this hand. Notice also that it's not just in this hand, but it's in this arm, and it's in this shoulder, and it's in this side of your face, and this side of your chest, and abdomen, and this leg. So this side of your body has this resource over here. And then in the other hand, that part of you that's heading to a future which is brighter and better in the ways that you've determined, and wants to bring you to that emerging future, feel that, not just in this hand, but also in this arm, in this shoulder, and this side of your face, and this part of your chest and abdomen and your leg. So you can actually feel these two sides of you, like there's a split down the middle of your body. And we have these commitments and these competing commitments. And in essence, it's almost felt like there's been a war inside of you of these two opposing sides fighting. Well, now it's time to bring everybody to the peace table. Put down the weapons, no more fighting. It's time for learning, to learn from each other. Because in the one hand that's headed toward the goal, this part of you understands your life gets better by achieving something new. Whereas the other side of you realizes that your life stays good when you don't expose yourself to possible failures, mistakes, vulnerabilities, so it keeps you safe by keeping things the same. They're both important to you. You need a protector who's vigilant and is always watching your back. And you also need your eyes on the prize of a future in which your greater and more expanded expression in life is possible. So now imagine these two hands coming together just as these two parts come together. So literally turn your hands toward each other and begin to bring them toward each other so that they can learn from each other. Don't let them touch yet, but as you bring them nearer and closer and then pull them apart a little bit, you can feel almost like a pressure between your two hands, like an energy field of two magnets repelling each other. It's very important to understand that this is the way in which the human energy field is designed. There's a north and south pole. There's an energy field. There's the yin and the yang. There's the light and the dark. There's the sun and the moon. There's the sympathetic and parasympathetic. We have these opposing groups, but they have to work with each other. They have to work in synchrony and in harmony with each other. So let each side learn from the other. Let the part of you that's venturing into the future know how to stay safe in doing so. And let the part of you that's trying to maintain status quo recognize that it's needed for the greater expression of your true power and potential. Let them learn from each other. And let them keep coming closer and closer and closer, and let the palms of the hands come all the way together. Let the palms of your hand touch each other. As these two sides of you come together, feel that shift, not just in your hands, but in your arms, in your face, in your chest, in your abdomen, in your legs. Feel there's a melding, a balancing, a harmonizing that's taking place throughout your entire body, mind, nervous system, energy field, everything. An integration, a sense of peace, a sense of contentment. Feel this gratitude and appreciation that these two sides now have as they work in synchrony and harmony with each other, that joy, that happiness that begins to emerge. Let the two hands come together. Now place your two hands on the center of your body, right over your heart. And as you inhale, imagine inhaling this new resourceful state into every part of you, into all the nerves, the cells, the fibers of your being, so that all the parts of you can learn. There can be harmony and all of the energy systems and all the organs of your body, a balance and a harmony taking place in all the cells and structures. And as you pull your hands away from your center, hold your palms out in front of you and imagine in this hand is a new resource, a new object that's somehow an integration of the two previous ones now into one. And you're holding it, you can see the size and the shape and the texture and the temperature. You can feel its senses, or a color, a sound. Just recognize this new object. And just like in an art gallery, you could set it on a pedestal to remind you of a new level of integration that's taking place in you. Gently rub your hands together, make them nice and warm. Bring your hands to your eyes and cover your eyes with the palms of your hands. Then open your eyes to the palms of your hands and slowly draw your hands away from your face and into the room around you so that you change your state of consciousness slowly with a sense of direct control. Pretty powerful stuff, huh? In the field of what we call neuro-linguistic programming, the exercise that you just went through is called a visual squash, where you're actually bringing together what are called two otherwise opposing forces. And The reason that this exercise is important to you is that it's at the heart of what we call generating new options. So first of all, understand that the human neuroanatomy, who you are in a physical incarnation, is set up in a biphasic design. So your physical body has extensor muscle groups and reflector muscle groups, extension and flexion. So we have something that goes forward and we have something that pulls back. And the way in which you can move from point A to point B is because there's a controlled opposition. Otherwise, we would just spring, lurch, and fall like a grasshopper or something like that. Just has a twitch response and that's it. But you see, we can move fluidly to any position, hold it anywhere in between because we have this biphasic design. Same thing with our nervous system. We have a sympathetic and parasympathetic. So when we're active and we're using our sympathetic nervous system, it's great, powerful, you can come out here, but then we've got to recharge. We've got to close our eyes, we've got to go inside. That's the parasympathetic. As soon as you close your eyes, immediately start to turn on that part of your nervous system. How about our brain? The bicameral mind, the two hemispheres of the brain, seemingly quite different. How about your personality? Personality is the same way. You know, and I'll give you a couple of examples about this, but think about, let's go back to the emotions, right? Just your somatic nervous system, your ability to feel love and your ability to feel fear. And it's a biblical term that says perfect love casteth out all fear, right? So we've got this ability to feel the opposites and the entire spectrum or rainbow of possibilities in between. Now, here is an example of some of these biphasic personality traits. And I'll ask you, do you think that you're sensitive or do you think that you're tough? The answer is yes, right? It depends on the situation. How about cautious and trusting? How about unselfish and selfish? Well, I'm unselfish in some areas of my life and selfish in the others. Maybe it's a smart selfishness, right? Got to take care of yourself. Serious or playful? Absolutely. Both. Self-appreciating and self-critical, right? Having the ability to critique yourself and your performance is really good, but if you're beating yourself up with it all the time, not so great. How about sensible and irrational? How about creative and logical? They seem opposite, right? But they're just ends of a continuum along which you have the choice to operate within. Most of us set a comfort zone that's between here and here on that continuum, right? How about impulsive and thorough? How about stable and unpredictable? How about hardworking and lazy? How about optimistic and pessimistic? You see, in each one of these, what we might call continuums, these endpoints define what some people say is who they are. Well, that's just the way I am. I say, yes, that's just the way you are, and you're also the other way when you need to be. Someone will say, well, I'm always this way. I say, exactly, you are always that way unless you're not. And you see, this is the choicefulness that we can have, but not if we're in battle mode with ourselves. And so in order to really have access to what I would call these, superpowers within you, we have to really be able to have the flexibility across this entire spectrum of possible behaviors. Now, there is a paraliminal that really gets at this. And we talked about it earlier when Wendy asked the question about being between a rock and a hard place. Seems like, I could do this and I could do this, but if I do this, there's a bad outcome. If I do this, there's a bad outcome. So what do I do? Perfect. The new option generator is a paraliminal that's going to actually take you through the exercise I just brought you through. And there are many times where we're going to encounter this. Like, you have to be some way other than you are. Well, how can I? I mean, that's the way I am. Well, the way you are was based on a set of decisions and problem-solving strategies that you have. And if that's not working to take you forward, you're going to have to do something different. Well, how can I be different if this is the way? Well, let's bring them together. Let's find a new way, a way where there has been no way up until now. And again, because it's a paraliminal, it's effortless on your part. You just sit back, enjoy relaxation, and I guide you through all the rest of it. There's another in this concept of possibilities for you. It's called the new behavior generator. What's powerful about this paraliminal is session A within it asks you to identify some competing commitment that you seem to be engaging in, things that you're doing that aren't getting you to where you want to go. And by identifying that part and having a communication with it, we find out, even though it seems really dysfunctional, it's got a positive intention. It's actually trying to help me. Like that guardian that's trying to pull me off the edge of a new possibility, saying, wait, stop, go back, don't pass here. It's trying to help. It's a good thing that I have it. So I've got to have it, I've got to use it, I've got to interact with it. Its positive intention is stopping my life from unfolding. Is there a new and creative way in which it can reach that positive intention? Is there some new and creative way that I haven't considered up until now? But if it was at least as good as better as the old ways, if it was at least as good or better than the old way of doing things, would I be willing to try it out? And what you're going to get is your nervous system will always say, yes. Thank you for asking. Thank you for being honest. Thank you for addressing this instead of just beating me up for being the bad guy in here. The truth is that we can have this delightful, positive internal dialogue with the resources that are within us. So in addition to kind of reframing our intention and finding new ways to do things, it also takes us this next step. It's called actually generating new behaviors. You imagine at some distance in front of you a role model, someone who does the thing that you would really like to now be able to do. They haven't been able to do up until now. And visualize that person, see them doing just exactly that behavior that you really want, and then substitute their body for your body. You put your body in there and look at yourself over there doing what that person just did. And then the final step is to actually go into it and be in your body, experiencing it, feeling it, seeing it through your own eyes. We call it becoming fully associated. You're associating with all of those feelings, those behaviors. You're actually engaging in the exact behaviors that your model did. And as a result, your nervous system takes it on. You gain a new behavioral repertoire almost without effort. People will often see that in you before you see it in yourself. Like once you've done this exercise, the new behavior generator, people will say to you, what have you been doing? Have you been doing something different? This is really quite astounding. Now we've seen this happen with sports, for example, golf and tennis. People who want to have a breakthrough, they actually pick a role model to do that. Someone who's been hesitant about getting up on stage or being able to give a presentation, they take someone that they could think of who's a great presenter and they step into that. Think about if you're a parent, most of our role models are our own parents, And if they had behaviors that were dysfunctional, it didn't really work for you, you can say to yourself, I'm never going to be like my mother. I'm never going to be like my father. I'm never going to be like them. But what are you doing by visualizing that? You're putting them in front of you, and although you try to negate it, you're actually playing it. So you're reinforcing. And guess what? By the law of reinforcement, you get more of what you reinforce. So you end up creating exactly what you didn't want. So by taking a role model that you truly want, you actually instantly open yourself up to having a greater expanded behavioral repertoire than you had before. It's really quite astounding. Now, in this section that I'm calling superpowers, there are a number of other really amazing paraliminals. One of my favorites, really an unusual one, it's called automatic pilot. Now here's an example where you know what to do, you know what you want to do, and so session A within this one, you're actually being very clear about it. And then in session B, you build it in. You use something called the Fibonacci number sequence. It's the golden mean repetition that happens in nature. And you build it in so that when it's time to perform that way, you don't have this internal dialogue that is trying to talk you out of it. And I always think about the ski jumper. You know, there you are, you're on your skis, you're looking down this jump, you're going to be sailing through the air. You don't want to be thinking to yourself, I wonder if it's going to work this time. You know, you have to be fully present, absolutely embodied, and let it come through you. Golfers find the same thing. You can't think your way through a golf stroke. Once you know what it is you have to do, you have to let your body do it and get out of the way. And this is a way exactly to do that. You put your body, you put your nervous system on automatic pilot, and it executes it flawlessly because your conscious mind is out of the way. Really cool. Another one is called self-discipline. Now, the word discipline comes from the root disciple, which means follower of. So if you have an end result and you know what it would be like to live in that way, to become a disciple of that, to become a follower of that way, means that on a daily basis, you're waking up and you're living into that greater expression of who you are. Very powerful. Another one is called the new action generator. A lot of people are interested in really big successes, what we would call epic wins, right? But what's an epic win? It's a series of small wins. A small win is any concrete indicator of success that's moving you in the direction of your goal. I defined success earlier today when I said, definition of success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. Well, that progressive realization is little steps in the direction. So at the end of the day, at the end of any project that you have, you can say, how did I do? Well, maybe I didn't get to my goal yet, but wow, I made progress. And you remember my story about ringing the bell, saying yes, 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 warmer, warmer, warmer? That's exactly it. By seeing, by reinforcing these little wins on a daily basis, the new action generator actually takes you to your goal, and you get what Emerson talked about. It said, you awaken with the success unexpected in common hours. So you're really out of your own way. You're letting the superpowers that allow you to accomplish what you want to come through. Another really cool one is called conscious time. Time is a weird commodity. You know, if you have money and you spend money, that money is gone, but you can get more, right? And you can take money and you could put it in a bank and you can save it. But when it comes to time, and this is really the most valuable commodity you have. That's why I've been honoring you for investing your time today and making a huge change in your life. Conscious time helps you decide how you're going to live into that full expression. Now imagine this if you could. We can only live in the present moment, right? So if I imagine there's this line of my life's time, I've got my past, my present, and my future. And here in the now is the only thing that really exists. This I know. The past, it's a memory. The future, it's a dream. Now, as soon as you establish a goal, it's as if you've posited your dream out there in the future. But how do I get there? I can only live in the now. And so when we look at the distance and the time between here and there, that's when all the fears come up, right? That's when the fears can step in, and I can see these immense barriers and all the effort and all the energy it's going to take, right? All the stuff between me and that. But hang on a moment. That's your mind placing those limitations on the future. Now imagine this. I could take a lasso, throw it around my goal over there, and living today, I can pull that one day closer because I lived into the full expression of my life today. As if I'm living that way, and now I've gained a little more knowledge. I've gained a little more skill, a little more strategy, a little better physiology. I've got a better attitude today. I can hold my thoughts. I can keep my eyes on that prize, and I one day awaken with the success unexpected and common hours. Why? Because I am now living it. Through the law of attraction, I've brought it to me. And choosing how I spend my time, I can't put it in a bank, and I can't make any more of it. Choosing to use my time wisely allows my superpowers to come into expression. Next one is called dream play. This is one of a couple of paraliminals that we have, that at the end of the paraliminal recording, I don't wake you up and say, wide awake, alert, refreshed, feeling great. Instead, I say, now you can stay here and just drift off into your sleep experience. Or if you'd like, you can bring yourself out. It's entirely up to you. And so this is a fabulous transition from your day into your dreams, and it teaches you two things. Number one, how to receive the communication of your non-conscious mind through your dreaming experiences. There was a Dr. Stephen LaBerge at the Stanford Sleep Research Laboratory that said dreams are a universe of learning opportunity. Session B on dream play is learning how to be awake and aware that you're in your dream dreaming. Awesome. It's called lucid dreaming. Now, you've had those, haven't you? Where you were in a dream and it was so real you could have sworn that you were there. And when you awoke, you were almost surprised to realize that it was just a dream. Well, lucid dreaming is something you can develop, first by remembering your regular dreams, and then by becoming lucid in it. Now, you may be one of those people, I hear them in every group I do, one of those people who says, wait, I never dream. Wrong. I will tell you right now, the research has proven everyone dreams. We dream every night. We have 4 to 5 dream sequences every night. Now, you might be someone who so convinces yourself you don't dream that when you wake up, you don't stop to think about it. So the smooth transition into the dream state and the smooth transition into wakefulness allows you to have more charge, more communication with this vast non-conscious resource that's within you. And I think a big part of what we're talking about today, hopefully you've been getting this message, it's about your dialogue with those further resources within you. Another one, all in the superpowers list, is this idea of simplicity. How can you declutter your life? How can you make things simpler? So many of us try to add more and more and more, thinking that that's going to make my life better. Really, if I could just calm things down a little bit, if I can make things just a little simpler, then I can really find my groove. I can find my focus. So simplicity is a way of revealing by taking some of the noise out of the system called your life's daily experience. And the next one I would talk about is what's called the memory supercharger. Now, the memory supercharger is a powerful one because all of us have what I would call a non-conscious memory bank. And a memory bank works like any other bank. You have to request information from it and allow the information to be processed and brought to you. Most people, as soon as they can't remember something, they immediately discount their brain. Oh, I'm having a senior moment. Oh, I just can't remember. Oh, I'm terrible with names. What are you doing? You're just programming your mind for that result. But if instead you pause, you say, I know this information, it's available to me, I'm going to let go and let it come to me. And in that level of patience, the information comes. Now, this is super important. Like today, our working together, you want to make sure you make good use of it? Great. Listen to the memory supercharger tonight. Tomorrow morning, listen to the memory supercharger if you're going to tell somebody else about this. If you're a student, you're going to take a test, I recommend listen to the personal genius before you're studying. When you're done studying, listen to the memory supercharger before you go into an exam. And what happens is, again, just like dream play, memory supercharger puts you in contact with that bigger database and allows an effective dialogue between the two. We have to stop shutting these superpowers down with negative suggestions. For example, I had mentioned earlier that, when it came to art, it was my wife who was the artist, and I just don't have that artistic ability. I'll leave that to her. I proudly show all her stuff. But I thought, I would really like to experiment with that a bit. So I took a drawing class. It was through the Minnetonka Center for the Arts, this space that we're in. And in my fourth lesson in Drawing 1101, right, just basic drawing class, I drew this. Now, this is a charcoal drawing of just a little plaster cast that was set. And there's 4 different values of color that are on it, dark to light to lightest. So it's a value study, but it's also a figure drawing to get a sense of it. My wife happened to come into that same class, and this is the one that she drew. Now, hers is technically a lot more proficient and probably way more accurate in terms of the way it goes. But I have to tell you, don't you agree? I got it, right? I mean, it looks like the plaster bust right there in the class. I was so proud. I really was. Now, how do you go from believing that you can't do something to actually being able to do it? Remember, we've talked about this today in a couple of ways. There's got to be some physiology, right? There's got to be some strategy. And when you follow the strategy, the expression that comes through you is how you choose it to be. Now, for me, I really like playing guitar. I've been playing guitar since I was in the 5th grade. I love it. I'm actually in a band. We get together, but the one thing I would never do is sing. I always leave that to somebody else who could do that. So I took a voice class early on in my career. I learned that, in order to speak correctly, I have to learn to use my voice. I took a class through the University of Minnesota called Understanding Your Voice. And I discovered that I have a certain tone range. Well, playing the guitar, I discovered what tone range that is. And I decided I'm going to experiment with this a little bit. So now, and last time I ran a retreat, we had a whole group of people. I put on a 45-minute solo guitar show singing all the songs. I absolutely loved it. When I was a kid, the idea of playing solo in front of a group of people, that was recital time. Total panic, absolute fear. So, you can do it. Pick something that you really want, that you're committed to having happen, and rather than getting stuck in the competing commitments and going back to the old way of doing things, have that breakthrough. Trust that your mind has the resources within you to accomplish this. I'd like to read something from you from one of our clients. This woman was a single mom, 2 teenage children, a house and a garden to take care of, and all the responsibilities that follow. In the midst of all of it, she went to the university and earned her degree. To this day, she said, people tell me they don't know how I did it. In fact, most of them said she was crazy. She went and got her registered nurse degree. She explains that there were 2 ways that she used paraliminals. I mentioned this earlier, but I really want you to understand, because I've been listing all these paraliminals, and you think, oh, which one am I going to pick? How am I going to do this? So here's what she did. Number 1, in a general way, to disassociate from negatives, like negative emotions, negative thoughts, the overwhelming challenges that are in front of her, and to associate to the positives, like creativity, relaxation, joy, and inspiration. Now, these are opposites, right, on a continuum. So how do you let go of one and focus more on the other? That's how, one of the ways she used paraliminals. When you need to take a nap or get a boost of energy, you can lay back and connect with the non-conscious resources that can help. You know that you'll get the rest, but at the same time, you're going to gain an advantage in some area of your life. It's like having your own personal pipeline to abundance, right? So that's one way to use them. It's a general way. The second is in a specific way, to target a specific benefit and achieve a desired result. And when you need to address a specific problem, there's a paraliminal that you can pull out of the library to connect with it and get what you need to be able to achieve it. So keep in mind, while I'm throwing a lot of titles at you and trying to give you some of these experiences that will help you understand, hey, it's all about the way you gain access to the resources within you. The truth is, you've got these different ways of using it. So you don't have to be absolutely in the know about what's the exact right one. The truth is, whichever one that you listen to at the time is going to be perfect because your non-conscious mind guided you through it. We have a library of paraliminals. I know people that use their intuition. They just run their hand back and forth over it until they go, ooh, 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 this one, they'll pull one out and they'll think, ideal weight? Why would I listen to this one? But it's exactly the one that's right for them at that moment. So you've heard me say this over and over again. The resources to accomplish any goal are already in you and they're available for you to use. The goal is the seed. It's the beginning that organizes the resources. Paraliminals will make it effortless for those resources to become available and expressed through you. And we're about ready to move on, so I want to take a moment after all this powerful work that you've been doing, and good job, by the way, to ask Wendy if there are any questions that showed up. Wendy?
Well, first of all, we want to know where your guitar is. We'd like to be serenaded.
You know,
please.
I actually thought of bringing it.
Oh.
But you'll have to come to my house and have a party.
Or maybe you can bring it to the office one day.
Yeah,
we'd love that. Just one question. It's clearly somebody who has been working with paraliminals for a while. Says, when I'm trying to break into a new area or a new, or shift something, I'm never sure whether the new behavior, new history, new option, new action, they all seem so tied together that I have trouble discriminating which one I should be using.
Yeah. Okay, good. So we have what are called the generator series, and I'd like to help you understand generator in the true sense of the word. First of all of these have 2 sessions on them, so they're very complete. Some people said, and the new behavior generator was the very first one we ever published back in 1988. Very powerful. It's like a self-improvement program in a single recording. And it's got 2 recordings in it, so. But the idea is that the new behavior generator is an overall one that talks about, when you're doing something that you absolutely know is getting in your way, perfect. New behavior generator is the one to pick. When it's new option generator, it's when I don't know what to do because I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place. And creating an option, a way where there's no way, that's really what that one is about. When it comes to trying to make progress in the direction of something that you want, that's where the new action generator comes in, because while all of these are specifying outcomes, this one is keeping you focused on finding those concrete indicators of success that will move you bit by bit toward that epic win that you want to go to. I'm going to talk a little bit later about the new history generator. This is so tremendous. It's literally about rewriting your emotional life. Very powerful. Like all of the generators, this one is a phenomenal shift. Now, I'll go back to what I had said earlier in response to your question, Wendy. It's the idea that you could probably get to the same place with all of them, okay? One would have a slight nuance shift in one direction versus another, depending upon what is your lived experience of this problem area up until now. And I also want to encourage you as a Paraliminal listener to realize that we do have a way for you to get questions answered if you have them. So rely on the coaching that's available for you if you have a question like that. Also, every single one of the sessions has what we call a case card that goes along with it. And it will explain. Do you have a case card with you I could just show as a demo right now?
Yes.
Thank you, Vanna White. You're so good. So this one is Abundant Money Mindset. And what it has is it states the purpose. It states before listening what you can do. It explains how it works in terms of the actual method. It talks about the best way to use it. And it gives hints for this kind of problem, for that kind of problem, what's the best way in which this can actually serve you. It describes the benefits and how to go beyond. Now, here's the idea behind a generator also. If you think about change as being remedial change fixes it, it remedies. Generative change means that once you have made the change, you've actually become skilled at making that change. So you've actually learned how to learn to change it, so that next time a similar situation comes up, you're actually more skilled. So it's generating capacity while giving you access to the capacities to give you what you want. So possibilities to go beyond is what we would call an enrichment step. It's like, how far can you take this? So every one of these has these sort of inside background, rich information that can assist you in getting that nuanced distinction, those little tweaks that can help you position the right one. Now, I do want to say in the early days of creating a number of Paraliminals, that Pete and I would actually have this sort of fun banter with each other. We'd take any problem anyone could ever come up with, and we could show you how to use every single one of the programs, including ideal weight and quitting smoking, for accomplishing your goal. Why? Why would that be the case? Because the resources that we're trying to gain access to that are already within us are locked down because of the mental model of how we've been approaching the problem. So when you approach the problem from a lateral perspective instead of head on, taking it from the side a little bit, can allow you access to a solution you have never considered before. It's the essence of creativity. Arthur Koestler wrote a book called The Act of Creation. And what he was talking about is something called bisociation. It's like two unrelated ideas coming together. That's where creative potential actually emerges. So, in the midst of whatever problem situation you may be facing, my suggestion to you is begin wherever you are. Get into one that's attracting you at that moment. Certainly throughout our day-to-day, I'm suggesting some really ideal ones based on the situation or circumstance of your life. The most important thing is you get to have a relaxed time, get connected with real power that's within you. And we're going to go to Pete in just a moment. When you see me again, we're going to get into part 3 of today's session. Part 3 is going to go through super body, super emotions, super mind. And the first session we'll be starting with is super body. See you in just a moment.